Why are you streaming, dude? People are out here dying. Nobody voted for you to fund illegal migrants, Brandon Johnson. And we know this is happening because Melissa Hortman, a Democrat in Minnesota, voted against funding for illegal migrants. The only Democrat, by the way. And I know it's Black History Month, ladies and gentlemen, but Brandon Johnson, you gotta stop being racist, dude. Like, this is a problem, man.
Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my peep. You know that it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, your boy, the illustrious sub, 10% approval rating, Mayor of Chicago, Brandy Boy Johnson. He is being called out by his own constituents, y'all, for failing to do the things that he said he was going to do, and in fact for lying. We are going to use one constituent's epic rant against a boy in order to tie in some of the stories that are happening in Chicago right now, including, that Mexican drug lord who got killed yesterday. Well, his ties to Chicago. He was one of the most wanted people in Chicago for years, y'all. And also the fact that Chicago is losing the Bears, y'all. So sad. So, without further ado, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it.
How are you going to allow 9 janitors to be fired when you have 150 police detail and that costs you $22 million a year? You can't cut a few cops to save a few jobs? You mean to tell me your safety is that important, Brandon Johnson? Absolutely disgraceful. Instead, you want to hang out with a China-loving, dog-shocking communist like Hassan Piker. Why are you streaming, dude? People are out here dying. I'm serious. You was just on 79th, right? You saw 24 shots get let off. People are dying out here. You don't got time to stream. Do you understand that? And I'm being serious, dude. Absolutely disgraceful.
So, you're going to see a little bit later this resident says that the reports of violence in Chicago are down, but that the actual violence is not down. I believe that he's insinuating that there's something fishy going on with the reporting, y'all. But one thing that may help the Chicago violence is the fact that El Mento, one of the most sought people in the United States, well, he's in Mexico, but one of the most sought people by the United States, was killed yesterday, leading to absolute pandemonium in Mexico.
Cutthroat drug cartel is fighting back after its leader was shot and killed today during an arrest by Mexican soldiers. The kingpin, called El Mencho, oversaw illicit drug markets here in Chicago, including the sale of deadly fentanyl.
Tonight, violence causing Puerto Vallarta's airport to close and security alerts for Americans now posted in several Mexican cities, all following the takedown of that cartel boss with ties to Chicago. We have team coverage for you tonight. Our Chris Hush talked to Chicago tourists being forced to shelter in place. But first, let's get to NBC5 investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy to break down what happened. Chuck.
Allison Stephan, El Mencho has been Chicago's public enemy #1 the past decade, according to U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration officials. The most wanted fugitive here and in Mexico as well. DEA officials say Mencho's new generation cartel controls a sizable portion of the Chicago drug market and is responsible for thousands of fentanyl overdose deaths in recent years. There was a $15 million U.S. government bounty on his...
So here the constituent is going to call your boy Brandy Boy Johnson out on all of the different lies. Or let's not say all. Well, let's not say all, y'all, because we don't know how many lies he done told, right? But many of the lies. He's going to call him out on those lies, y'all. And as you will notice, some of those lies have to do with the finances of the city. And then we're going to take a look at what the result of some of those lies might be. Y'all, let's take a look.
Watching one of your recent videos of you saying that you never told a lie. So you raised property taxes when you promised you wouldn't. You promised that crime would go down when it's not. Reports of crime is down though, but not crime within itself. I just want to let everybody know that crime itself is not down. Nobody voted for you to fund illegal migrants, Brandon Johnson. And we know this is happening because Melissa Hortman, a Democrat in Minnesota, voted against funding for illegal migrants. The only Democrat, by the way, and she was murdered for it. She was murdered actually by someone who was appointed by Tim Walz, sir. So I just want you guys to think about that as well. So we know this is happening, which is the main reason why the president is withholding federal funds in Chicago, because he is afraid that you will fund illegal migrants. And honestly, I'm afraid that you will do that too.
So, while they're spending up to $1 billion or more, y'all, up to $1 billion or more on the people who are in the country without permission. They don't have the money to fund basic services in Chicago. And as a result, they don't even have the money to keep the Chicago Bears in the city, y'all. So, this is not just a Chicago thing. This is an Illinois thing overall, y'all. But yeah, mismanaging the budget. And now they're about to lose their beloved sports team because they done gave all the money to the people in the country without permission, among other unjustifiable expenditures.
Talks with Indiana lawmakers continue to try to lure the Bears across state lines. The governor at a press conference here in Oak Park says it's time for the team to be transparent so he can be clear with both lawmakers and taxpayers.
The Bears really do need to step up and kind of be public about what it is that they really want.
Governor J.B. Pritzker calling out the Chicago Bears after he says he was surprised by the Bears' statement, lauding its vision to build a stadium in Hammond, Indiana. He says team officials have since said a move across state lines is not a done deal. This after Illinois leaders preached progress. He says the team canceled a hearing set for Thursday, set to potentially advance an in-state stadium deal. The Bears have said they are committing $2 billion towards a stadium, but there is other infrastructure funding at play involved. The team wants tax breaks and $855 million in Illinois public funds to help build a new stadium in Arlington Heights. The governor has reiterated he's only committing to a deal that works for taxpayers.
So, as you know, if you've been watching my videos, I have said frequently that your boy, the illustrious sub 10% approval rating mayor of Chicago, Brandy Boy Johnson, that I think he has fashioned himself as something of a knockoff civil rights leader after he spent all the money on the people who are in the country without permission and got just a ton of backlash, which he, as you can see, he continues to get that backlash. He seemed to have rebranded himself as like the second coming of the civil rights movement, but thankfully Chicagoans are not buying it, y'all. And they're calling it out for what it is.
And I know it's Black History Month, ladies and gentlemen, but Brandon Johnson, you gotta stop being racist, dude. Like, this is a problem, man. Everybody is people. We all shed red blood. I understand that, you know, tribalism is a thing and stuff like that, but we are all the same in the eyes of God, Brandon Johnson. Stop being racist. It doesn't look good for you, okay?
Thank you very much for your comments.
So yeah, y'all, many times per month, Chicagoans take to the mic to let Brandy Boy Johnson know exactly how they feel. And they tend to say the same sorts of things when they're criticizing him. They're talking about his 150-person police detail. Like, dude, why do you need that many policemen? I mean, can you imagine the expense that goes into 150 police officers guarding one person or maybe the family? But still, that's okay. So that's the expense there. Mismanaging the budget. Giving all the money away to people who don't even have permission to be in the country. Now, I've said many times, y'all, and I repeat this periodically just so nobody gets me twisted. I'm not for leaving people outside in the cold to freeze to death or to starve. But the problem is when you accommodate people to the extent that they have accommodated people, it creates an attraction to new people. They're like, oh, we can go to Chicago. They're going to give us food. They're going to give us shelter. They're going to protect us from IC. And we get to live under an illustrious sub 10% approval rating leader, just like back home. Laughter, you know. It probably feels comfortable like, yo, this feels just like back home. We have ineffective leadership. Laughter anyway, y'all. I just wanted to bring this to you, y'all. This is a little bit of a lighthearted video, but I agree with this guy more or less. You know, I never agree with somebody 100%. But what do you think? Do you think that the Chicago resident, is he hitting on all cylinders? Is he telling the truth? Do you agree that Brandy Boy Johnson needs to maybe cut his personal police detail to save some janitor jobs? Maybe stop giving all the money away to people who are not citizens or even permanent residents. Maybe stop streaming with streamers while people are being killed in Chicago streets. Still one of the most violent cities in the country. Y'all let me know what you think. Drop a comment down below. But before you do, please stop. Hit the share button.